Good evening. Virgin Australia will not receive a federal government bailout, but it is promising a comeback as a stronger airline after going into voluntary administration. Already more than 10 potential investors have come forward to help restructure the business. Staff are being told they're not being made redundant and frequent flyers won't lose their points.
Virgin staff kept apart by social distancing but joined by a common disaster.
Felt a bit betrayed, actually.
If I'm going to have enough money to pay my rent, buy my groceries.
After Virgin's bosses called in administrators.
And is the worst aviation crisis we've ever seen in our history.
An airline already unwell with $5 billion in debt left in intensive care by coronavirus.
We always knew that there was work to do on the balance sheet. We'll come back leaner, stronger and fitter.
Leaner, but denying plans for redundancies. Scott Poole is like many at Virgin, left unemployed by the 2001 Ansett collapse.
Yeah, it cuts. It's tough. I don't want to go through it again. It's my life.
Bringing back bad memories for union leaders at the time.
I saw people that lost their lives, committed suicide. I saw people that turned around and never got a job back in any industry.
Virgin's administrators are talking up the airline's prospects of finding investors.
And I'll say in excess of 10 parties who are known to us who have got a keen interest in being part of the restructure of Virgin.
For now, the federal government isn't one of them.
But the government was not going to bail out 5 large foreign shareholders with deep pockets.
Unions and the federal opposition say these workers are in this plight not because of a market decision, but a government one. And it's government that needs to find them a way out.
What I want is a Prime Minister who fights for every job of every Australian.
Experts say Virgin's mostly foreign ownership could be a sticking point, but...
We're talking Virgin Australia now. In 7 months' time, we could be talking Qantas.
Virgin's founder says governments in other countries have supported their airlines.
Sadly, that has not happened in Australia.
Sir Richard Branson, worth $7 billion, wants the British government to rescue Virgin Atlantic, even offering his Caribbean island as collateral. In the past year, Virgin Australia stock has slipped 55%, 18 cents to 8. But its 10% shareholder is not losing hope.
This is not the end for Virgin Australia, but I believe in hope, a new beginning.
For the time being, Virgin Velocity points are on hold, but not redeemable for at least 4 weeks.
And Chris Marr is at Sydney Airport for us tonight. Chris, when do the administrators hope to secure Virgin's future?
Mark, the administrators from Deloitte say the restructure should take 2 to 3 months. They say there'll be no redundancies, top executives will keep their jobs and incomes will continue to be paid. But those staff stood down and on JobKeeper subsidies will remain on that arrangement. There'll only be limited flights, rescheduled ones will be honoured, but very much an airline, Mark, in a holding pattern.
Chris Marr at a very quiet mascot. Thank you. Prime Minister Morrison says Australia has reached a turning point in the fight against coronavirus, declaring we're already on the road back to recovery. One major step will be easing restrictions on elective surgery from next week.
For a nation in isolation, wondering when we'll reach a turning point, some hope.
I think we already have reached a turning point.
And with new cases low and remaining low, now on a course towards easing restrictions.
Thanks to Australians, we are on the road back.
The first cautious step, a return of elective surgery resuming from next week, allowing all Category 2 procedures such as IVF, hip and knee replacements, cataracts and all surgeries on children.
Some people think elective surgery sounds like it's something that's not important. It is incredibly important.
It is to Victoria Constantopoulos. Her daughter Gia can now go back on the waiting list for skull surgery. That will allow her brain more room to grow.
I'm completely ecstatic. I mean, it gives Gia the chance to get this over with.
The Prime Minister also wanting restrictions at aged care homes eased to allow families greater access and rejecting privacy concerns over the government's COVID tracker app, likely to be available before the weekend.
The Commonwealth will have no access to that data.
Figures today reveal 780,000 Australians lost their jobs in just the first 2 weeks of this lockdown. The Reserve Bank Governor describing the pulverising blow to our economy as a once-in-a-century contraction.
the next few months are going to be very difficult ones for the Australian economy.
Predicting the economy to shrink by 6%, unemployment to hit 10% and negative inflation for the first time since the 1960s.
As Australians digest this economic news, I would ask that we keep in mind that this period will pass.
But that road out will be bumpy. Mark Riley, 7 News.
The Premier has unveiled plans to get students back to school, but warns classes won't be normal again until at least term 3 in late July. And while staggered face-to-face teaching starts on May the 11th, how that will happen has left many confused.
We know plenty about what school won't look like. No packed classrooms, no school assemblies, no sport or mingling at drop-off. But what it will look like is very much up in the air.
Will it be the same as kids going to school under normal circumstances? No, it won't.
Back to school day is May 11th, 3 weeks into term 2. Initially 1 day a week, then 2 and building.
And we hope by the end of term 2 we'll be in a position to have students going back to school in a full-time capacity by term 3.
That's July 20. Ambitious, say some. Impossible, say others.
The feedback I've got from principals this morning and from parents is, what the hell is going on?
The government has handballed the decision on how it will operate to the schools themselves. They'll decide which students come on what day, with suggestions it be done alphabetically or by the house system to keep siblings together.
We want them to make sure that they are having about a quarter of students on campus each day, but how they break that group up will be a matter for them.
The government insists it is safe, but will help with more hand sanitisers and soap, extra cleaning equipment of classrooms and play equipment, even forehead thermometers, with teachers given priority access to testing centres. From teachers,
we believe it represents and presents serious operational and logistical concerns.
They wanted the return of 1 year group at a time, but the current teaching workforce, parents, cautiously optimistic.
As a working parent, you know, I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't a part of me that's looking forward to it.
We've got to wait and see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to the kids getting back into the classroom.
Schools have 3 weeks to determine how to make it work.
And let's go to Chris Reason now. Chris, the Prime Minister has weighed in on class safety, with many parents still concerned.
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Talkback and social media lit up on that announcement this morning with grave fears about the health implications and fears of a second wave of infections. But the Prime Minister, state government, the health officials are all saying that all the evidence shows that children are low-risk spreaders of coronavirus. That helped by the fact that there'll only be 25% of kids in the classrooms, enabling them to spread out, and also they'll have staggered start and finish times, recess and lunch. But as one critic pointed out, if it's all so safe, then why have teachers been given priority access at those testing clinics? Mark?
OK, Chris Reason, thank you. There's a new coronavirus case at a DY retirement village, and tonight we can confirm a third death at Newmarch House in Western Sydney. The son of an infected resident there is demanding authorities take over, claiming Anglicare staff are now so strained the standard of care has become criminally negligent.
Pat Shea in happier times. The Newmarch House resident hasn't seen her family in over a month.
Hi Mum, how you going?
Son Anthony hearing over the phone of her suffering inside. This morning she fell in the shower.
I've got skin off my knee, but they didn't bandage that up. They left that one.
The 76-year-old tested positive for coronavirus last Wednesday. The next day waited 2 hours for nurses to respond to calls for help.
It's horrendous. Nowhere near enough staff.
The type 1 diabetic's blood sugar level hasn't been checked in a week. Another resident told she can't shower because no nurses can assist her.
If a society is measured by how we look after our elderly, we're failing.
Anglicare's CEO admitting in a letter to residents and relatives, our biggest challenge remains the supply of skilled registered nurses and carers. The organisation telling 7 News 55 staff are self-isolating after 14 were infected. 28 residents have tested positive.
At the moment it's cover up and spin, and people are going to die.
3 have died already, the third confirmed a short time ago. Anthony is more worried a lack of care rather than the virus could kill his mum. He wants Anglicare to hand over full control of the facility to New South Wales Health immediately.
You have to address the spread, that is so important, but you must take care of the welfare of these older residents.
We obviously continue to monitor the situation in the aged care facility closely.
Also being monitored are COVID-19 recovery rates. The state recording only 6 new cases overnight, almost 3,000 people in total. New figures reveal more than half are now better, half of those symptom-free after 16 days.
Keep doing what you're doing, it's working.
Alex Hart, 7 News.
It was Goodbye Ruby Tuesday for 49 relieved crew members of the most infamous cruise ship to ever sail Australian waters. Authorities remain under immense pressure to ensure the Ruby Princess crew disembark with much greater care than her passengers last month.
It's not how people usually feel about getting off a cruise. But it is when the ship is the Ruby Princess. For dozens of crew locked in their cabins since March, the news they'd been hoping for finally arrived last night.
Tonight is a special night, a happy night. Tonight is our last night together as one big united family.
Today, there was no hiding their joy.
Oh my God, I never thought the day would come.
With the Army lending a hand, the Ruby Slippers moved from boat to bus. Under police escort, these buses will now take those 49 people to a hotel in the city. From there, they'll need to wait for flights back to their respective countries. One of the crew members released today is COVID positive. They'll move into isolation on land.
We're not just letting 1,000 people off into the state of New South Wales without a plan.
More than 1,000 remain on the ship, many at the mercy of diplomatic negotiations.
People need to have visas, and if you're found without a visa, then you go to Villawood.
Princess has written to passengers offering full refunds, counselling, and this excuse for leaving hundreds in the dark since testing positive. Australian privacy laws prevent authorities from sharing guests' health information with us. Police have confirmed more crew will disembark the virus ship tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you to everybody.
In Port Kembla, Peter Fegan, 7 News.